Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the XFL Fan Zone. Well, like I say, I've done my first two videos today in well over a year, and even though I'm not paying attention to the sports world, the one thing in the sports world I have been paying attention to as best I can is the XFL and what's going to happen to it, whether we kick off next year or 2023. Please let it be next year. Not that we should rush things, but I'm eager for a spring football league. Now, we've seen a lot of talk about this possible merger or partnership with the Canadian Football League. Now, with the partnership to work with each other to make sure we get the best players and we share players and we don't interfere with each other to make both leagues work, I have no problem with that. I am fine with that. I have gotten into the Canadian Football League the last 2.5 years because of my disgruntled with the National Football League and how the owners are basically spit in the face of the fans, how they treated us like they don't need us anymore. And as much as I love my Giants very much, and football is my favorite sport, you start shoving politics down our throats and spitting on the fans, there's going to be a rebellion. Sorry, there is that. But anyway, let's talk about this possible merger and why I think this is a marriage from hell, merging with the Canadian Football League. It all has to do with economics. I'm sorry, it does. Let's start with the Canadian dollar versus the American dollar. Now, as bad as the American dollar is right now, if you notice, the price of copper and wood has increased 100%. Because the American dollar is weak, but despite the American dollar being weak, the Canadian dollar is much weaker, and that's going to be a problem. There's a reason why the NFL stayed away from Canada, despite the Buffalo Bill experiment of having one game a year up in Toronto, which they did very well. But there's a reason why they stayed out of Canada and talked about putting a team in London 5 time zones away, which also I think is a very bad idea. It has to have to do with the Canadian dollar. I'm sorry, you'd be naive to think any other reason. Now, despite the fact that Toronto is basically their version of New York City, it is the center of media, sports, fashion, entertainment. That's Toronto. If you've ever been to Toronto, and I have been there many times for hockey and baseball, it is their version of New York City in that country, and it is their largest city. I think it's about approximately almost 3 million people, so it is a pretty big city. It's by far the biggest city in Canada and bigger than most cities in the United States. 2, the Canadian taxes. They are a socialist country up there. Their tax rate is a lot higher up there. Now you add that with the weak Canadian dollar and trying to live here in the United States, listen, it's going to hurt you, all right? I'm sorry, it's going to hurt you. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of the XFL players some came from CFL says, why should I play 18 games with the Canadian dollar when I can only play 10 and get paid American money? And listen, it's a legit argument. So, again, we talked about the NFL. There's a reason why Washington has a third baseball team, despite the fact they failed twice, is because the Montreal Expos could not hack it up in Montreal. Now, granted, they had a major stadium issue. The Olympic Stadium is not a great place for a baseball game, but it wasn't really a great baseball market either. Even though they had their run in the late 70s and the early 80s, and the 94 baseball strike killed the Expos, but regardless, there's a reason why there's only one team left in Canada. That's the Blue Jays. That has a lot to do with it. The NBA, we had an expansion in Toronto and Vancouver. The Raptors are still there, and they just had an awesome run with Kwame Leonard a couple years ago, winning the NBA title. But they think the Vancouver Grizzlies lasted about 2 to 3 years and went to Memphis, and there's a reason for that. The Canadian dollar, the Canadian taxes, they were terrible, no fan support, and you were trying to compete with the Vancouver Canucks, and Vancouver is not big enough in a hockey diehard country like that to support a basketball team. So they went to Memphis. Even if you look at the NHL, a Canadian team has not won the Stanley Cup since 1993. We're going on 28 years, assuming that they don't win it again this year. 28 years. Think about this. The Montreal Canadiens, the only team that has won more championships in North American sports is the New York Yankees. They were the last team to win in 1993. They have not won anything since then. They've come close a few times. They've made it to the conference finals, but to no avail. The Toronto Maple Leafs, a legendary team up in Canada, have not won since 1967. Again, the Canadian dollar with Canadian taxes is a killer. I'm sorry. You have to look at it that way. 3. Despite the fact that the CFL has been around for about 100 years, you look at their past TV contracts, they're not that great. They really aren't for a league that has been around for 100 years. I don't think it's really any better than what the XFL had, what the World League of American Football had. They've been in and out of bankruptcy. They've teetered from red to black. And it seems like the only reason why they have a TV contract is that the sports network up there needs something to show until hockey season starts again. Sorry, that's just my opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, I've only been to the CFL the last 2.5 years before we had last year's shutdown of the world economy. So if you have anything to add, let me know. But the TV contract is awful. 4. Poor attendance in the CFL. Again, for a league that's been around for 100 years, the attendance is not real great. And when you consider they play, I think, from April to November, when the weather is pretty warm up there, nice to go to a game, their attendance is not good, especially on the eastern half of the country, where the big markets are, Toronto and Montreal. It seems by attendance figures it is way more popular in the western part of Canada than it is the eastern part of Canada. And if you're going to merge, well, and these TV networks want big cities, if you don't have Toronto doing well and Montreal doing well, this is a terrible marriage. I'm sorry, it is. And there's no other way to look at it. The other thing is, up in Canada, I don't believe they still do Nielsen ratings like we do here in the United States. So finding how many people are watching up in Canada to the US is going to be a difficult thing. I'm not sure if there's a Canadian version of the Nielsen ratings. I'm not sure how that works, but I know that's one of the reasons why the networks don't like going up there, is because they can't establish who's watching and who's not, how many people, and what to charge for commercials. And listen, that's how you pay the bills. Number 5, are we going to have 4-down football or 3-down football? In this country, the United States, we have 4-down football from Pee Wee League through the pros. In Canada, it seems like they have 3-down football from their Pee Wee League to the pros. Alright, so you're going to piss off one country going to either or. And because the United States have the money and the population and the structures, and this is just more of a football country in Canada is, I don't think the Canadian football fans are really gonna like being given 4-down football up there. Now granted, I'm not mocking the game. The Canadian game is just a different game. I like it. It is different from the 4-down football league, the expanded feel and everything, the single. It's pretty fascinating to watch. I'm gonna admit, I've really enjoyed it the last 2.5 years, but I still prefer 4-down football because that's what I'm used to. May sound biased, that's okay. I'm sure the Canadians feel the same way about 3-down football, and I get it. 6, affirmative action does not work. In Canada, in the CFL, they have this thing where I think half the players have to be from Canada on their football team. Okay, but the problem with doing that is you already told us you're not interested in having the best players. And if you're not interested in having the best players, you're not going to have the best games. I know it's Canada, it's called the Canadian Football League. I get it. But if you want that to work down here in the United States, it's not going to work. Listen, affirmative action does not work in the private sector, even though they try to force it on you. It doesn't work in government, and it doesn't work in sports. And if you don't get the best players and have the most competitive games, you're just not going to last long. And I'm sorry, but the attendance figures, their TV contracts, prove that, on top of the Canadian dollar and the Canadian tax problem they have up there. Number 7, the football field. They have an expanded football field. I think their end zone's 20 yards and 10 yards wider and 5 yards longer. Most of the stadiums in this country, I don't think, can accommodate a Canadian-style football field. Whereas up in Canada, they can accommodate the NFL or American football field a lot better. Again, that's going to be a problem. They're accustomed to one way, we're accustomed to another way. Who's going to win out? And again, if these TV networks want big markets, I'm sorry, I don't see how this is going to work well down here. Now, it sucks because if you've seen, there's a stadium up there I like. I think it belongs to this Saskatchewan team, that beautiful team up in Alberta. I remember watching a Prolific game a couple years ago against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Man, what a beautiful stadium and what an atmosphere that was. But can that market hack the XFL? As I said, the western part of Canada has way more interest in the eastern part of Canada, but the big markets are on the eastern side of the country. And if these TV networks want big markets, that's going to be a problem. When you cannot fill up BMO Stadium in Canada, in Toronto, in the middle of summer, you only get 5,000-10,000 fans a game, that's going to be a problem in your biggest market. All right, number 8, the time of year. When are we going to play this game? The Canadians play, I think they start in April, and their Grey Cup ends, I think, Thanksgiving week here in November. Our Spring League wants to start after the Super Bowl and finish in June. Okay, again, here we go. The Americans are not accustomed to watching and going to football games in June, July, and August. And if you do that, you're going to be competing against NFL training camps and NFL exhibition games. And we see how well NFL exhibition games don't draw very high rating, and how their attendance drops compared to the regular season, and how most season ticket holders try to give them away for nothing. That's going to be a problem in the U.S. market. Now, if we go and we play from February through June, well, it is pretty cold up in Canada to sit outside and watch a football game in February, March, and April. I mean, if BMO Stadium in Toronto is drawing about 5,000-10,000 fans a game in the middle of summer, how many people you think are going to come in the middle of the winter when it's brutally cold? That's a problem. And even if you were to move the Argonauts and the Alouettes indoors to the Rogers Centre in Toronto and the Olympic Stadium in Montreal, would they get the attendance figures enough to support having a stadium that big? Sorry, it's an issue, and it's something you have to think about it. And again, finally, number 9, which rules are you going to use? Are you going to use the XFL rules, which were pretty much a hit down here? Or are you going to go with the Canadian rules? Again, the Canadian rules, a lot of our football fields I don't think it can accommodate a Canadian football field that big. That's going to be a problem. Again, It's just the reality of things. Now, I know The Rock. He's a former football player. He played at my school, well, my team, University of Miami. And he had a small stint in the Canadian Football League before he joined the WWF, aka the WWE, and that's fine. There's a sentiment value up there, but his sentiment does not exactly make it a good business plan. And listen, nothing against The Rock. He's become a rags to riches story, but he's made his money in acting in the WWE. I don't know of any other business he's ever owned other than the XFL, and I'm glad Danny Garcia is partners with him, because she by far is definitely the business aspect of the trio here, and so is, I want to say, was it Redbird Industries, I think. Regardless, but those are the major issues we're going to have if they think they're going to merge. And I'm sorry, but an upstart league that's now trying to do part 3 against a 100-year-old league that has poor attendance, poor TV contracts, and not much fan interest in their own country, I do not see how this can work. I mean, granted, I want the XFL to do well. I'm all set to get my Guardian season tickets. But I don't want this league to be a fart in the wind like every other spring football league we've had. And I don't think being partners with a dying Canadian Football League is a good idea. Now, if they do go through it, obviously, I hope I'm proven wrong big time. I just don't see it. The Americans are not going to go for 3-down football, Canadian rules, and playing in the summertime. Just throwing it out there. We don't know what they plan to do and what they're doing right now. There's been rumors, but rumors are like anything else. They're just rumors. You can't really confirm anything until they release it. So, anyway, I'm on XFL. I'm at New York Guardian, on duty New York Guardians on Facebook. I've also encouraged to go to 100% XFL with my friend Brett Tierce. Today is, I'm sorry, I don't tell you, we had a game at 1 o'clock today for the new Spring League. It's at 3 o'clock on the main Fox channel. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I've not paid attention to the Spring League because with all the crap we're dealing with here in New York, and I've been in the middle of it, it's been hard to pay attention to sports, and with all the politics involved, I've pretty much been on strike with sports with the exception of the XFL. But now that we're here with the Spring League, I'm going to support and watch the Spring League just to say F you to the NFL and give a message to these networks that we want spring football and we want it well, and hopefully that tells the Fox channel and ESPN, assuming they're going to go back to broadcasting XFL Part 3, is that there is big fan interest. So if there's 2 reasons to do it: 1, F you NFL, we're tired of your crap, and 2, give a message to the networks and the XFL, we want a spring league. You have a golden opportunity, don't blow it. XFL, Danny Garcia, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, listen to me. You have a golden opportunity to unite the country with sports again, since the other leagues don't want to do it. Alright? XFL Part 2 was this close from taking off. The baton has been passed to you from Vince McMahon and Oliver Luck. I see you guys are listening to what other people have to say, and I'm telling you right now, I'm going to do all I can to support the Facebook groups who are XFL related. I'm going to buy season tickets. I plan to do more videos. Assuming the Guardians do come back to New York, I'm going to give you mini camp videos, training camp videos, game day videos. I will give you everything I can to make this league work, and I will work with others. Alright? As far as my XFL Fan Zone channel goes, I'm not competing with other networks. I'm not competing with other channels. I'm here to make the XFL work wherever I can to make it work. And that means advertising other XFL channels on YouTube, I will do it. If that means advertising XFL Facebook groups, I will gladly do it. This is not about me. This is about having spring football permanently. Alright, everyone, let me know what you think. If you have any inside information that I might have missed, let me know. Like I said, I've been busy with life. And I've been on strike with sports, but this is what I've been paying attention to. And I'm going to give minor league hockey a chance next year when we're allowed to go to games again. And I'm going to give my minor league baseball team here locally a chance. So, everyone, go XFL, go Spring League, go New York Guardians. Let's make it work, everyone. Everyone, watch today's game on the Fox Network at 3 o'clock. And we'll talk to you later.